Welcome once again to this assembly. I am the servant of YAHUAH. So y'all here once again to help uplift you and bring you to a closer relationship with YAHUAH, the Most High. And before I pick it up in Bere'Shiyth chapter 32 at verse 17, I want to go back to verse 3. For it seems as though I overlooked something very important. And verse 3 reads, And Yaakov sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. Now, I want to point out that Seir is part of the country of Edom. It may be the main hub, if you will, and is described as being very rough. It's a mountain of Edom and its aboriginal occupants. Also, there's one in Yasharel. Now, at what point did Esau acquire his own lands? This may have been something that Esau did when he was out hunting. He may have had, his own land, which he enjoyed. He probably enjoyed skiing and mountain climbing. Maybe he figured out how to dive. Maybe he went cave diving or something. He liked the mountains. Mountains and fields. This is going to be part of the attributes that I bring up later, that Esau chose. Of all the places he had been, he chose a mountainous area, a rough, rugged area. He probably climbed and built his strength through, climbing mountains, scaling mountains, and that's where he had his people. That was his land. So I just thought that was interesting. I wanted to point that out, right quick. All right, let's continue on verse 17 through 20. And we're talking about Yaakov here. So just to get you back up to speed. And he commanded the foremost, saying, When Esau my brother meets you and asks you, saying, Whose are you, and where go you, and whose are these before you? Then you shall say, They be your servant Yaakov's. It is a present sent unto my lord Esau, and behold, also he is behind us. And so commanded he the second, and the third, and all that followed the drove, saying, On this manner shall ye speak unto Esau when ye find him. And say ye moreover, Behold, your servant Yaakov is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me, and afterward I will see his face. Perchance he will accept of me. Now, Yaakov is quite terrified of this meeting that's going to happen between himself and his brother Esau. As I said before, he remembered what his mother told him as far as his brother meaning to kill him. He knows that his brother is quite powerful, very skilled, and has all the abilities of a hunter. So he's trying to calm his fury with presents, with gifts. All right, verse 21. So went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company. Yaakov lodged in the midst of his people. He rested in the gathering of his people. Perhaps it made him feel more secure now that they surrounded him. And what happened to the angels? He don't seem to be accounting for them. Verses 22 and 23. And he rose up that night and took his 2 women and his 2 women servants and his 11 sons and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them and sent them over the brook and sent over that he had. Yaakov was terrified. The terror would not allow him to rest. The fear of Esau would not allow him to rest. The guilt of his past deeds haunted him. And lest his past destroy his future, his sons, his women, he sent them away. He sent them before him, probably in an adjacent angle or an adjacent direction, so that while he go forward, they're going sideways, and Esau possibly wouldn't overtake him. Verse 24, and Yaakov was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. Now that's a very interesting verse. It says he was left alone. I'm going to take that to mean that there was no more his people with him. You know, his women, his children, all his men servants and maid servants, no cattle. I think that's what that meant. Because if he was he was left alone with no one there, where did this someone come from to wrestle with him? That someone was quite possibly one of those angels that he was scared, well, that he remained scared even though that they were present and with him. This verse says he wrestled with a man, and that the man was there with him. How long had this man been with him, and why were they wrestling? Did the man walk up and pick a fight because he was by himself? You know, what's up? Maybe he looked like an easy mark and said, you know, I'm going to take Yaakov out and, you know, take what he got. You know, he didn't have anything but his clothes in his back at the time, so that's a weird fight. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Yaakov's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. This sounds like the weirdest fight ever. It sounds as though this unnamed man had some interesting powers, or power. He must have thought at the first he would not need them. Then he discovered that old Yaakov was an accomplished wrestler. You know, go figure. He's scared of Esau, but, you know, all he got to do is wrestle him. And he could not out-wrestle him, so he cheated. The next bit is confusing. Whose thigh did he touch? His own thigh or Yaakov's? It sounded like he touched anybody's thigh. It didn't say he touched Yaakov's at first. You know, it's kind of funny. If he touched his own, it was like voodoo. If he touched Yaakov's, it was perhaps more strange. If it were just a touch, he had extraordinary strength that he was restrained to use. If it were a hard touch, he was still very strong to be able to use that kind of strength up close. Either way, this was a weird fight. You know, they were wrestling. You know, how did he just have time? It's like he paused time, said, time out, went over and touched his thigh, gotcha. And Yaakov, you know, he kept wrestling. All right, verse 26. And he said, let me go, for the day breaks. And he said, I will not let you go, except you bless me. Like I said, weird fight. What was the deal with this man in Sunrise? Did he have an aversion to sunlight? Was he a vampire? And what kind of weird courage did Yaakov have? He was terrified of his brother, but can fight with the stranger all night, not knowing if this man intends to kill him or anything else. Then the wrestling contest gets weirder, and the man requests to be released. Can you imagine that? Could you imagine wrestling with somebody, and you got them pinned, waiting for the 3 count, and they say, hey, let me go. You know, he about to count me out, you know. Like I said, this is a weird fight. Hello, you are in a fight. A wrestling match. Your opponent is not just going to let you go. Then Yaakov matches his weirdness and requests a blessing as compensation to be released. What kind of stuff is this? You know, it seems as though Yaakov had some idea of who he was wrestling with. You know, this man don't seem to have just appeared. It seemed like he was there, and for whatever reason, him and Yaakov, you know, started fighting. You know, maybe they had disagreement. Maybe they thought, maybe Yaakov figured, hey, you're here, you need to protect me. He said no. And then they start fighting. I don't know. This is a weird fight, the weird circumstances. You know, who requests some, you know, when they fighting somebody, either you get beat up or you win. You don't make requests while you're fighting. It's kind of weird. It's very weird. Well, scriptures are weird. He'll leave it at that. Verse 27. And he said unto him, what is your name? He said, Yaakov. Now, it just got weirder. Were they still wrestling? Or are they, sitting down, getting ready to have a cup of tea? Shaking hands, I don't know. This has got to be the funniest fight ever. In the middle of wrestling, they paused to stop to get to know one another. Was Yaakov still holding on to him at this time, or had he let go? Now, considering he just said that he wasn't going to let go unless the man bless him, I'm assuming he was still holding on. But still, very weird fight. If you call it a fight, like I said, this is weird. And he said, your name shall be called no more Yaakov, but Yasharel. For as a prince have you power with Elohim and with men, and have prevailed. The dishonest man now has an honest name. Interesting. More than that, he now has the status of princely royalty with Elohim and man. He has overcome in all struggles and now has a place with Elohim. Now, if he's a prince, he must have a king. Who could his king be? That Yaakov is now an heir to royalty. Bet you missed that, didn't you? Yeah. Yaakov, Yasharel are heirs to royalty. You ever heard people say, oh, I'm a king and I'm a queen, or we, these so-called African Americans, we're kings and queens. We're descendants of kings and queens. There you go. This man, which I'm pretty sure was one of the angels, or at least an angel, some sort of emissary of YAHUAH, speaking on behalf of YAHUAH, says it could have been YAHUAH himself. But nonetheless, he told him that I'm changing your name, and not only that, I'm changing your current status, your position amongst man, amongst all man. You are a prince. So as a prince, you have a king. The only king that he could have at this time is YAHUAH. So there. So for all you who doubt your lineage, you might want to get some certainty on that. Because if you are the generations, if you are a descendant of Yaakov, then you are a prince and a princess and an heir to royalty. And that royalty being that of the throne of YAHUAH. Can't get any higher throne, no place on earth. All right, verse 29. And Yaakov asked him and said, tell me, I pray you, your name. He said, wherefore is it that you do ask after my name? And he blessed him there. Was this the start of not answering a question? A lot of women must have read that verse. Sorry. Instead, asking a question. This man did not give his name, but he did give Yasharel a blessing. All right, verse 30. I want to know what that blessing was. Verse 30. And Yaakov called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen Elohim face to face, and my life is preserved. Yasharel said that the man he wrestled with was an El, not an angel, an El. He did not say that he saw YAHUAH, but more than one El. Now, I'm pretty sure that both Yasharel, Yaakov, and the translators meant or understood this to be YAHUAH. Or maybe it was just Yaakov meaning this to be an El, and the translators mean this to be YAHUAH, whom they call God, or who many call God. Nonetheless, it says he's seen Elohim face to face. More like it was just one El, because there was only one person he was spoke of as wrestling with, so just one. Now, if he did wrestle with YAHUAH and win, that would be awesome, and it'd be quite a precedent too. Verses 31 and 32. And as he passed over Eth Penuel, the sun rose upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. Therefore the children of Yasharel eat not eth of the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Yaakov's thigh in the sinew that shrank. Sons of Yasharel, don't eat the meat, the muscle, at the hollow of the thigh. Sons of Yasharel, do not eat meat from that part of an animal. Get to know the parts of the animal where the meat came from. It's a symbolic gesture that sons of Yasharel, descendants of Yaakov, descendants of Jacob, perform our respect and appreciation for the grace of Elohim, for the blessing of changing their name, changing our name to Yasharel, as well as changing our status, our position amongst man as princes, heirs to royalty, heirs to the throne. And I'm going to sit upon that throne upon the next time we meet on this assembly. Until then, I am the servant of YAHUAH, saying enjoy this good day.